Okay. All right. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Mark Ghilarducci. I'm Director of the Governor's Office of Emergency Services here. This particular press conference intent is to provide an overview and an update to all of you on the current conditions and ongoing efforts by the state in response to the power shutoffs, as well as the fire activity that we're seeing around the state. The weather conditions, the weather continues to be the main focus of all of our safety efforts, particularly the red flag conditions and the associated wind that comes with that. The weather has resulted in, of course, the decision by the utilities to shut down power, and as well as a number of very fast-moving fires that we've been seeing around the state. Here at OES, we're coordinating the statewide emergency response efforts and the state agency efforts. And over the last 2 weeks, this state operations center behind us has been fully activated. Will remain that way over the course of the next several days. We now have more than 90 state agencies, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the National Weather Service, and a number of private sector organizations, all either embedded here or engaged in the field in a unity of effort to address the challenges and support of local government and the public at large. We're currently focused on two key areas. First is responding to the consequences of the utilities public safety power shutoff, including the coordination with all three IOUs, Pacific Gas and Electric, the Southern California Edison, and San Diego Gas and Electric, supporting our local communities throughout the state with critical needs and services, and ensuring for statewide day-to-day operations and public safety. And the second is responding to and supporting several significant fires burning in the state, including the Kincaid Fire in Sonoma and Lake counties, the Getty Fire in the city of Los Angeles, the Easy Fire in Ventura County, and recently the Hill Fire in Riverside County. Now, a couple things about the power shutoffs. PG&E currently still has out of power 206,000 customers. Currently, San Diego Gas and Electric has 21,785 customers out of power, and Southern California Edison has 71,000 customers out of power. Over the last couple of days, we've been really focusing with regards to the power shutoffs, particularly in the north as the days progressed longer with regards to the multiple power shutoffs, in being able to provide key lifeline support services to communities, particularly in the Northern California area. So we work very closely with PG&E. We work with our partners at FEMA, the California National Guards, local governments, to provide over 40 generators. We deployed in critical lifelines to include supporting water and wastewater treatment systems, the ability to support evacuation shelters as a result of the fires that were going on, and other kinds of commodities to be able to ensure that individuals had the supplies that they needed. As well, as a part of the fires, where we have established several shelters or work with local government to establish shelters. You'll hear more about that in a few minutes from our Health and Human Services representative. Some interesting stats associated that as a part of the fire response, we've delivered over 5,150 liters of water, 2,016 emergency meals, 3,900 blankets, 515 comfort kits, and 1,695 masks. And we have an additional cache of resources staged to support an additional 5,000 people for 3 days in Southern California, given the current fire activity that's going on down there. Last night, here in the State Operations Center, the Shelter Task Force that's been led by the Department of Social Services and Health and Human Services Agency worked hard to identify a number of standby shelters in Southern California in anticipation of the wind event that is actually happening now with the red flag conditions and the Santa Anas, and they directed a number of American Red Cross personnel and supplies to be strategically placed throughout Southern California. As well, from the beginning of the power shutdown and during the fire weather event, we have been strategically pre-positioning fire strike teams and task forces comprised of local and state fire assets throughout the state. These have included engines, fire engines, hand crews, bulldozers, dispatchers, helicopters, ambulances, emergency management personnel. There are over 100 fire engines as part of these pre-positioned resources, and the resources themselves have been essential in the immediate initial attack on all of the fires that I mentioned, helping to keep the fires as manageable as possible. In addition, we have over 500 mutual aid fire engines from both the state, OES, and local government from throughout California assigned to the various fires. That's in addition to what CAL FIRE has committed in engines, crews, and air assets, which Chief Porter will talk about in a few minutes. Looking at the big picture and the potential for additional fire activity, we also engaged the Emergency Management Assistance Compact. This is a compact to bring in fire strike teams and assets from other states, nearby states. We currently have assets here in California from Oregon, Washington, and Nevada, and several other states, all together representing over 150 engines and a number of firefighting personnel. Most of these assets have already been assigned to fires within the state. The governor has also been able to secure a number of fire management assistance grants. These are grants from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. These grants assist with the cost associated with these fires. We're very appreciative of FEMA and our partnership with them, not only in their rapid response to the governor's requests, but for their support and help here in the State Operations Center. In addition to all the fire assets, we also have more than 400 state and local law enforcement deployed, personnel deployed, providing mutual aid assistance and security, mostly at the Kincaid Fire. But we have resources throughout the state, and this is in addition to the resources provided by the California Highway Patrol, which are engaged throughout the state, and you'll hear more about that from the commissioner in a minute. And we've deployed the California National Guard in support of the fires and the power outages in the form of air assets, logistics specialists, commodities, and security support. And as well, you will hear more about that from General Baldwin in a minute. Lastly, our Health and Human Services Agency has been integrally engaged in both the consequences of the power shutoffs and the support to the various fires in providing everything from medical assistance team and physicians to medication to evacuation shelter support. And our Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services will speak about that in a second. And their work includes not just Health and Human Services, but the agencies from the Department of Social Services, the Emergency Medical Services Authority, and the California Department of Public Health. While the utilities are beginning to start to restore power now in the north, there's still power shutoffs ongoing or planned in the south, particularly because of the significant wind event that's occurring there. Again, the red flags and now the Santa Ana winds will continue to push our security and safety measures in support of local government, and we do want to make sure the public is very attuned to the weather conditions that are going on there. The State Operations Center will remain fully activated in coordinating emergency response actions until the weather event is passed, all the power is restored, and all the fires are mitigated. Lastly, the threat of fire and the red flag conditions remain. It's imperative that all Californians prepare for, listen to local authorities and state authorities for alerts and warnings, and if told to evacuate, don't wait, do it. This is about your life. Everything else can be replaced. So with that, I'm going to turn it over now to the Director of CAL FIRE, Chief Tom Porter, for fire update.
Thank you, Director Gillarducci. Again, Tom Porter, Director CAL FIRE. Cal Fire Fire Chief. I want to talk for a minute about where we are and how we stand in this scenario that we're seeing. While this is a normal event that happens in the fall, it is a very active period that we're going through. The winds come this time of year, everything's still dry, and until we have a significant rain throughout the state, we're going to continue to have this type of activity when we have wind events, particularly those north and east wind events. So how does this one stack up? Well, it was pretty strong up here in the north, quite strong. The Kincaid fire burned under very extreme conditions the second night that it was burning, first and second night, excuse me. And it really was a wake up to this season again. We've had a long and slow season thus far before all of this, and this has been kind of the point at which we've really turned on our season. So with all of the activity that's been going on and the hundreds and hundreds of fires daily that are being put out without any notice by or attention in the media, we still have some that we're missing and that are getting big. And we have to be prepared for that. And we need the public, you, to be prepared for that every single day, no matter what the season is. Because in California, we have a year-round fire season, and anytime this can strike. So that being said, what does the situation look like going forward? Today, we're seeing the winds taper off, and we'll go to a pretty calm setting for the next 5+ days here in Northern California. It's going to be dry. It's going to continue to be elevated temperatures during the day, little relative humidity recovery at night. And so we're going to have still the potential for fires. We won't have the wind, thankfully. In the Southern California area, we're in the middle of a San Ana event it's moderate for a wind event. Some were saying extreme red flag. Those are things that are not what it was, and it has not borne out to what it was. What it was under the Santa Ana Wildfire Threat Index, which is the index that we use, particularly in the Southern California area, to identify how extreme the fire weather is. It was a high day. Today was a high day, and we have seen elevated activity. It was not extreme. But being high, we've had in Southern California alone well over 20 different fires that have broken out just today. And that's 20 fires that aircraft dropped on, not the other fires that engines, crews, bulldozers put out without an aircraft ever getting there. So we are very active, but we have new fires, only 2 in Southern California. So our fire suppression activity, our aircraft in conjunction with crews on the ground, bulldozers, engines, are keeping these fires, for the most part, very small. And the ones that have grown today are the Easy fire this morning in Ventura. Everyone knows about the Easy. It's 1,491 acres and 5% contained this afternoon, but it is holding. It's not growing significantly. The acreage will increase through the night and into tomorrow, but that one is not running with the wind any longer. There is also the Hill Fire, 200 acres, Riverside County, 5% contained. Also, forward rate of spread has stopped. We've been able to hold that fire, and we expect it to get a little bit bigger, as they do, but it's not running into communities at this point, and we don't expect that to happen. We've been able to keep local government, in particular on this one, in LA City, the Getty Fire. It's been held at now 745 acres, 27% contained, and it did blow out a couple of places today. It blew out, burned out a couple little pockets, and was able to be held. So now we're going to see, we're on the back end of that wind. We're going to see the the activity start to reduce, and we do have sufficient resources to jump on new fires and continue to fight the fires that we also have in place. The Kincaid is starting to see a lot of success. The wind is favorable. It is blowing in the areas where we still have open line. It's blowing the fire back into itself. And in the south and west, the line is cold, and we're starting to repopulate, as you've been made aware earlier today with the lift of evacuations in those areas. With that, I want to remind everybody to be ready. We're back here again. Ready, set, go. Readyforwildfire.org. All of the information you need to prepare and get ready, be set, and to go is there. And when the order comes, you do need to go. And with that, you can also get to a conglomerate of information from all of the state's resources at resources.ca.gov. Thank you, and Commissioner Warren Stanley will follow me.
Thank you, Chief Porter. From our perspective, on a statewide basis, we have personnel assigned to all the fires here in the state of California. Mostly, the majority of those assets are assigned to the Kincaid fire, which is the largest. We have about 63 personnel assigned to that. We have a total of 90 personnel assigned statewide. And what we've been doing is assisting CAL FIRE and the other fire personnel with moving people in and out of the evacuation area, and also traffic control at some of the areas that we want to keep people out of during these fires. And I also ask the public to be mindful of traffic in the areas of the fires. If you have to be in that area, and we hope that you don't be, but if you are, just be mindful of the fire personnel, the law enforcement personnel that are moving in and out of those areas. A lot of equipment coming in and out, and we want to make sure that our fire personnel and law enforcement personnel are safe. One of the things that we have been doing related to the public safety power shutdown, we were asked, and we have provided air assets for PG&E to help them with inspection of their transmission lines in order to inspect them prior to they being re-energized and hopefully get the power on sooner rather than later. Mostly those have been done up in the northern California counties over the last couple of days. Today, we're going to be assisting them with inspection of transmission lines in Napa, Lake, and Sonoma County. So we're moving our assets over there today. And with that, before I turn it over to General Baldwin, I just would like to remind the public, and it's been mentioned by Chief Porter, with the winds that we have going on this high fire season, I would just ask people, if you are smoking in your car, please, please, please do not roll down your window and throw the cigarette out the window. That is one of the quickest ways to get a fire started with all the dry brush along our freeways and other roadways. And with that, I'll turn it over to General Baldwin.
Thanks, Commissioner. I'm Major General Dave Baldwin with the California National Guard. The Cal Guard has 470 people on duty conducting operations across the state, the preponderance of whom are supporting operations as a result of the Kincaid fire. We're supporting CAL FIRE with firefighting helicopters, ground crews, firefighting hand crews, with surveillance aircraft that are capable of assisting with mapping and tracking the progress of the fires. And we're also manning around-the-clock other systems that are assisting CAL FIRE with immediate fire detection throughout the entire state. We're supporting local law enforcement with military police and infantry units that are assisting with traffic control points and helping to secure evacuated areas to prevent looting. We're also assisting local governments with shelter teams that are assisting with manning and running shelters in Napa and Sonoma counties. And we are providing generator teams to local government to provide backup power to critical infrastructure for their emergency response. And earlier this week, we flew 2 helicopters in support of PG&E's efforts to inspect transmission lines to help them get their system up and running quickly. We'll continue to support operations, and we're prepared to respond throughout the state, particularly in Southern California, if something should arise there. And I'll be followed by Mark from Health and Human Services.
Good afternoon. Marco Meach with the California Health and Human Services Agency. As Director Ghilarducci noted, Secretary Galley has activated our entire agency in response to both the public safety power shutoffs as well as the wildfire responses. In addition to our presence here at the State Operations Center, we also have activated our Medical and Health Coordinating Center at the Department of Public Health, which includes the Department of Healthcare Services, the Office of Statewide Health Planning and Development, the Department of State Hospitals, and the Department of Developmental Services, so that we're coordinating across our various entities. As alluded to earlier, the Department of Social Services is leading the sheltering task force here at the State Operations Center, and at the moment we have 21 open shelters across the state with a census of roughly 3,000. We have a capacity of about 12,000 individuals. The California Department of Public Health has been monitoring the shelters for infectious disease control to ensure that we're following infectious disease protocols, and we have deployed EMSA CalMat teams to the shelters to ensure that we're addressing any unmet medical needs. Additionally, the Department of Healthcare Services has been working with our county behavioral health colleagues to ensure that we have behavioral health resources within the shelters, as these are traumatic events for individuals, and we know that there's a higher rate of anxiety and depression. In regards to the facilities that we license and certify across our agency, both at the Department of Public Health, which licenses healthcare facilities, and the Department of Social Services that licenses community care facilities, with regards to the various wildfires, we're tracking 450 facilities on the social services side, and we're tracking close to 3,000 facilities that have been de-energized, with another 2,500 facilities that may be de-energized. We are in contact with each of these facilities to ensure that the individuals that they are taking care of are safe and their needs are being met. On the public health side, we are tracking 60 facilities with regards to the fires, and we're tracking an additional 400 facilities who have de-energized throughout the state, and another additional 750 facilities that may be de-energized. Again, we are in communication with all of those facilities. Our top priority right now is individuals who are most vulnerable. So that includes the elderly, foster children, individuals who are disabled, and those who are medically fragile. We're working very closely with our county colleagues and our nonprofit partners to reach out to these individuals to make sure that their unmet needs are met and that the resources in the community are there for them. In terms of resources, for those individuals who have unmet needs, we have created a hotline. That hotline number is 833-284-3473. Again, 833-284-3473. And that hotline is operational 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's available in multiple languages, and it's also available via 711 relay for those individuals who are hard of hearing or have speech impairments. It's a great resource, and we definitely encourage folks to reach out on that. In addition, if there are healthcare facilities or community care facilities who are unable to get a hold of their regional offices or our state partners, they should reach out through this hotline, and we will make sure to follow up and address any unmet needs that they have. Finally, we yesterday released a medication guide, a prescription medication guide on our website, and we've shared that with all our partners with regards to individuals who depend on medications and what to do during the power shutoffs with regards to medication. So we would encourage you to visit our website at chhs.ca.gov or the response.ca.gov website, which has information with regards to pharmacies that might be closed and those that are available and how to deal with medications. Again, a huge thanks to our county partners, both public health, health services, social services, and behavioral health for their tremendous work, as well as our nonprofit partners, including the American Red Cross, as we continue to respond to both the public safety power shutoffs and the wildfires. Thank you.
So, yeah, I just want to make sure we're clear on the website, because that's a new website and it's got a lot of great information. It's response.ca.gov, response.ca.gov. A lot of great information in that website, and for individuals and businesses and et cetera, about how to deal with the outcome. So happy to answer any questions.
Mark, General Baldwin touched on this, but the looting and the potential for looting, from your law enforcement branch and partners, what, if anything, are you hearing about these blackouts and the potential to increase crime?
Well, I'll turn it over to Chief Hazen, Chief of Law Enforcement here at OES for that answer.
Thank you. My name is Mark Pazin, P-A-Z-I-N. Basically, the law enforcement industry has been very responsive. We've had limited issues regarding looting, any type of criminal activity, but just like in any normal day, there will be some. But the law enforcement mutual aid process and the system works, and there has been limited criminal activity.
What kind of cases are we talking about? What have you heard?
We've heard one that the generator was stolen in Humboldt County. I talked to the sheriff over there. We had an incident at Sonoma State. There were some persons that were supposed to evacuate. They did not. They were promptly arrested. And then another person in the Sonoma County area had gotten into the mandatory evacuated area. That person was contacted immediately by local law enforcement. That person had warrants and was promptly taken to jail. Thank you.
Safe to say, I think throughout this entire endeavor, the work of the Highway Patrol and of our local law enforcement and support with the National Guard has been really good about keeping things very, very secure and safe, and a tremendous amount of cooperation by the public at large who have been evacuated, and has also been the subject of having to deal with these power outages. Everybody's been extremely resilient and continue, like all of us, working through the challenges that are with this. So far, so good in that arena. Yes, sir.
Mark, you mentioned that there were a number of grants from FEMA that the governor had secured. I'm wondering if you know more specifically how many grants and how much funding there is, and if there's any stipulation in terms of how that money is spent.
Sure. So those are called fire management assistance grants. They're the governor. What we do is there's a criteria set forth. It's basically based upon fires that are of such nature that could if let go, if they don't have enough resources or if there's some challenges, could result in the designation of a major disaster. It's a federal designation. The money is made available immediately, and it helps to offset the cost, and it really is designed to ensure that money's not an impediment of getting the resources committed, and it's focused on response resources. That's fire and law enforcement, emergency services, public health, whatever it takes to be able to deal with that particular fire. It's coordinated through this office. The money is made available. It's on a reimbursement, and it's 75% of the cost of the entire event. So it's and again, it's targeted towards the response aspect.
So we won't know totals until once this.
Yeah, we don't, because each of the fires has a different total associated with it, and so that'll get it calculated in the course of the coming weeks.
Question for Chief Porter. We're hearing reports that yesterday in the AEU there was a structure fire that was possibly caused by a generator being used during the blackouts. What, if anything, can you tell us about that incident? And then just in a bigger picture, what are your concerns about people using generators and other things during these power outages, and how does CAL FIRE try to help prevent these sort of incidents?
That's a great question. And so people take it upon themselves to try and keep their life lit up with generators and different things. And in some cases, it can be catastrophic. In one case, I'm not certain. Yeah, maybe it was a generator, maybe it was something else, some other connection that caused a fire, or another reason that the structure fire occurred. That can happen, and it will happen. And if it's not a generator that's been professionally put in place for the feeding of the system in your house with proper switching and everything that goes along with that, it can be a problem. What I would say is make sure that if you're going to put a generator in at your house, that you do it with a licensed electrician. And then also you need to be prepared to be without power as well. And unfortunately, we're in a time when we need to do that more throughout the state. Everybody needs to be thinking about this. But remember, we've been talking about this for decades. We have the potential for an earthquake to happen, a major storm to happen. Many of the mountain communities do this anyway and are prepared. But we have not had a lot of time or a lot of instances in recent past where the power has just gone off over large areas. This is reminding us that that can happen. It's not right the way it is happening, but it's reminding us that it can happen, and we need to be prepared for this whenever it could happen, and really that could be any time of year in California.
Are there other instances like this where you've heard that, you know, a generator or something else power outage related has caused problems?
I haven't heard of another instance in this kind of period that we've been in, and that will come out. Every fire that breaks out in the state responsibility area or even in local, every single fire is investigated and a cause is determined. And so we'll be able to develop that data in the future, but we don't have that today. Thank you.
Question for Major General Baldwin.
I almost killed the fire chief.
Not today, sir.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you had 2 helicopters that were assisting PG&E to survey lines. Wonder if you could be more specific on where that was happening and if that is an exceptional measure or if that is more routine.
So it's the first time we've done it. So it is somewhat exceptional in that case. We provide those types of platforms to law enforcement and emergency response agencies almost on a daily basis. But it's the first time we've provided them to a private company, but it was for the public good. The aircraft were UH-72 Lakotas that are equipped with forward-looking infrared optics as well as conventional cameras, and they're able to downlink in real time the video feed they get. I'll have to get back to you on specifically where they flew, but it was in Northern California and in support of PG&E.
Okay. And I'm wondering if you foresee that continuing in the next couple of years, potentially, as we have more public safety power shutoffs, that's going to become more routine.
I think you would have to ask that of PG&E to see what their predictions are and how they're going to be able to manage their system coming forward. But if they need our help, and we're directed to do so by the governor, we'll do it.
General, do you anticipate having to activate the MAFs this season?
We always anticipate having to activate MAFs here in California or throughout the western United States. There was enough tanker resources available on the civilian side in support of CAL FIRE that we didn't have to do that. We did alert our crews. They were ready, but we were not called.